So I figured I'd make a video talking about the Superfly card that's going to be coming up in February, primarily because of the fact that another fight just got announced for it. Carlos Cuadras, former WBC Super Flyweight champion, is going to be fighting against McWilliams Arroyo, former title challenger. He, of course, challenged Roman Gonzalez for Gonzalez's then flyweight championship, his WBC flyweight championship. He also previously challenged Amnat Ronrong for Amnat's IBF flyweight championship at the time. Lost a split decision against Amnat. Lost unanimously against Gonzalez in a fight where he didn't have the best of luck, considering the fact that the sole of his damn shoe came off in the middle of the fight. But ultimately, he was just outgunned in that fight. Against Amnat, I thought that he actually won that fight. One of the judges also thought that he won the fight, but it turned out generally in Thailand, you really gotta put a beating on some of those guys in order to get a decision over there. And ultimately, Arroyo was not awarded it, which is really unfortunate because actually I think he'd be still one of the top reigning. Well, maybe not considering the fact that he lost Gonzalez, but I was gonna say he probably would have been still one of the top reigning flyweight champions there. Because he lost to Gonzalez after that, of course. But he's going to be fighting against Carlos Cuadras. This is actually a pretty interesting fight from where I stand. The only thing that kind of puts a damp on it is the fact that Arroyo hasn't been active since he lost to Gonzalez. And so by the time he fights Cuadras, it'll almost be a 2-year layoff. It's going to be 22 months. It's a 22-month layoff, man. That's a long time to not be fighting. I mean, part of it wasn't his fault. Arroyo was trying to get fights with other fighters, namely Zhou Shiming, as well as there was the possibility that he was going to be fighting Naoya Inoue on Inoue's United States debut, but they wound up going with a different opponent. Um, and I'm not sure what PR Best Boxing has been doing recently because I know that they were his promoter. I was assuming they still were. Maybe he's a free agent now. Maybe that's why he hasn't really been getting fights. He's been kind of shopping around, kind of looking for the best deal, possibly. I'm not sure if he's still with Puerto Rico Best Boxing, but um, regardless of the case, he's gonna be fighting against Cuadras. Of course, I favor Cuadras. Cuadras should be favored, not just on paper, but I mean, if you just look at the way that they fought, the way that they've even fought a common opponent. They fought Gonzalez. Gonzalez fought the two of them back to back. Gonzalez won a pretty conclusive, dare I say, dominant decision over McWilliams Arroyo, and then got his face bludgeoned up pretty badly against Carlos Cuadras. Um, in spite of that, though, Arroyo, I really, even against Gonzalez, Gonzalez hit him with some pretty good shots, and Arroyo was able to take him reasonably well. In the very first loss of Arroyo's career, he actually was dropped by Takashi Okada in the second round. He got caught, but generally against Gonzalez, I thought he took the punches reasonably well for the most part. It showed at least a competent defense and ability to kind of stay out of trouble, stay out of danger, keep from getting stopped against Gonzalez. Kind of broke a little bit of a knockout streak that he had. But Cuadras' speed, his hand speed, his foot speed, his ability to close distance, his ability to get distance, I think is really ultimately what's going to be most troublesome for Arroyo. Um, Arroyo is a very big puncher, yes. Can he catch Cuadras? Possibly. It's really about the timing. If he's able to time Cuadras and really nail him with a good shot, um, I've said it before. I said it before the Gonzalez fight, and I still believe it. I think that Arroyo's power is about as hard as it gets, below featherweight even. He's knocked out a couple of opponents. I think it's Miguel Tamayo that he knocked out actually quicker even than it was. I don't think it was Tamayo. I thought it was. No, it was Tamayo. I'm looking at it right now. It was Tamayo. He actually knocked out Miguel Tamayo quicker than Gary Russell Jr. and Diego De La Hoya did, and Diego De La Hoya and Gary Russell Jr. are both featherweights. Although maybe Diego's not even a featherweight anymore, considering the fact that he just weighed in several pounds over the overweight for what was supposed to be a 124-pound catchweight fight taking place today. and it wound up getting canceled because of it. But it just goes to show, Arroyo's a huge puncher. That's that's pretty much undeniable. Um, I just can't see him being able to catch Cuadras and put him down. Cuadras not only against Gonzalez, but he took punches against Rungvisai, who everybody knows just how powerful of a puncher that guy is. You could see it just looking at his record. You could see it in pretty much any fight, any footage of any fight that he's had that's here on YouTube. Um, but I like this fight. The other thing I wanted to mention about the Superfly card, of course, is headlined by Suisakitsu Rungvisai defending his WBC belt against Juan Estrada. Great fight. To me, that's the fight I'm most looking forward to coming up. That's already penciled into the schedule. Um, is Cal Yafai, and I'm wondering what the hell Cal Yafai is doing, man. Um, from all appearances, it's looking like Cal Yafai is ducking. Not only is he ducking Naoya Inoue, who it's confirmed that he turned down a fight against, but it's appearing like he's ducking Roman Gonzalez too. I was just taking a look at the WBA rankings, and they even have Roman Gonzalez rated at number 1 already. So it's like they're pretty much just making way to try and get a Yafai versus Gonzalez fight. But from everything that's kind of bubbling to the surface right now, it sounded like Yafai doesn't want him with any top super flyweight. I guess I don't know if he's just content to defend his belt against voluntaries for the WBA or what he's doing. I mean, I I know his last couple of fights he had a more difficult time of it than most people expected. Um, Particularly his most recent fight against Sho Ishida, where Yafai, a lot of his style is predicated on being able to kind of like bully you and muscle you around. Being able to kind of hit you and then clinch you and be it's like almost like he takes breathers in the midst of using those clinches and just generally kind of muscling his opponents around. It almost reminds me of like a miniature version of like what Kell Brook does or what Kell Brook did at welterweight up until he fought against Golovkin and Spence consecutively, where he wasn't able to do that against those two guys. Um, and I get the feeling that Yafai and Hearn and whoever else happens to be running the man's career think the same with when it comes to the likes of Joran Akaz, IBF champ. Although Akaz is going to be fighting on a top rank card coming up in a couple of months, and as it relates to Naoya Inoue and Estrada and Rungvisai. And even Gonzalez still. Gonzalez is a bit of a wild card. Is he shot? Is he winding down? Is he, just worn? Is he worn out? Has he just kind of gone through the ringer and everything? Maybe Switzerkid just had his number and was able to really just, detonate an early bomb on him in that second fight. But against other guys without as heavy hands as Switzerkid, maybe they won't be able to pull that off. I mean, Gonzalez even in the third round against Switzerkid in that second fight was starting to ratchet off some pretty nice combinations and catch him pretty well. Um, I don't know what Yafai's doing. I don't know what Hearn and all those guys are doing with this guy's career. I mean, you'd think that they'd want to strike while the iron is hot and really capitalize on this whole situation, but who knows? Maybe they're trying to play the long money game. And hey, if they are, I guess do what you do, play the long money game. But it's just crazy to me because Yafai has had several fights on television on big cards and stuff in the UK, and it just seems bizarre to me that he would kind of cede the spotlight to all these other fighters, considering the fact that um, I mean, had it not been for Gonzalez and HBO getting involved with him and Inoue and Suisaka and Estrada, then Yafai would be the only guy that's really on television like that, at super flyweight, at least in the Anglosphere, in the English speaking world. And Kos, managed to, I think, largely get signed by Top Rank based off of his connection to Manny Pacquiao, but also because of the fact that he was on the Pacquiao Horn undercard. So they scooped him up, and I think a big part of the reason why they scooped him up, not only is because he's a quality fighter and because he has a connection with Pacquiao, but because of the fact that there's more spotlight on the division as a whole. So Top Rank sees money to be made there more so than they otherwise had been, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. Um, but that all that means really is that there's just more money to be had for all of these guys. All these guys. A rising tide ultimately is going to raise all the ships. So, so he's going to get paid more than he used to. Estrada's going to get paid more than he used to. Gonzalez will get paid, but the fights have to be made. These fights, I mean, yeah, you can milk it. I guess you can have these guys fighting other guys other than each other, for a brief period. I guess maybe that's what Yafai and Hearn are doing. They're figuring that they can kind of play super flyweight and bantamweight or what have you, the way that the way that Hearn kind of does with the other weight classes with the higher weights up. But to me, it's bullshit. To me, Yafai, not only in the ring has he shown himself to be the weak link of the super flyweight titleists, but I think in practice and in his career progression, he's shown himself to be that as well. It's like shit. Jamie Conlon should have probably fought him instead of fighting Joe Nakaz, although maybe a promotional issue kind of stood in the way of that. But I'm sure you guys out there kind of get what I'm saying. Fight somebody, man. Fight somebody. I mean, shit. Even Rex Cho. I think Rex Cho would give him a good fight. And and I thought for the longest time that Rex Cho was pretty much going to be food for Naoya Inoue whenever Top Rank decided to step that dude up. Although, I mean, considering the fact that Top Rank now has two fighters in the same weight class, I could see them making Cho versus Akas, yeah, for that IBF title maybe. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to toss out a couple of thoughts about the signing of Cuadras versus Arroyo. It's at least it's a pretty good fight. I mean, maybe Cuadras deserves a slightly softer touch than what he's been fighting recently. And hey, it's a big fight for Arroyo. If he wins it, it's his signature victory of his career, and gets him right back into title contention, whether at super flyweight or flyweight. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe he's having trouble making weight nowadays too. Who knows? But I mean, I think his power is enough that he can make himself a factor at either weight class, especially flyweight. Honestly, I think if anything, if he can still make the weight and everything, he probably should be campaigning as a flyweight, just like Brian Valoria is right now. Just like I think that Gonzalez probably should still be, but you know, it is what it is. Doesn't always necessarily turn out the way you want it, even for the fighters. So look at Saddam Ali. Ideally, he'd probably still be fighting at 147, but he got the call to fight against Miguel Cotto, took the opportunity and made the most of it. So let's see what he's got. All right, that's it for this one. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.